India is at the right place and this is the right time for us. Over the next several years, we'll continue to create an economic miracle. World has a lot of investable surplus where they are looking for one place where they can deploy for a long period of time. And we need to enhance the absorption capacity. Our mission at HDFC AMC is to be the wealth creator for every Indian. Indian women have been great savers for generations. How do we make them better investors? Saying that in a short period of time, we have leapfrogged from the most data poor society in the world to the most data rich society in the world. There is no sphere which will remain untouched by AI. This is one of the most transformational force humanity has seen. And leaders need IQ and EQ, but equally important are AQ and SQ. AQ is the adaptability quotient. SQ is the spirituality quotient. Business community in India, the entrepreneurs in India can showcase to the world what Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam really means. Our deep faith, this country is destined to do very well. Not only in my life, but for next hundreds of generations. You have 1.4 billion people, starting with $2,500 per capita, an aspirational population, a very young population. There would be many opportunities.
So we always have special episodes, but then there are super special episodes and super duper guests. And one of our guests on this podcast, the Karmine Kompass Pivotal Conversations today, is Mr. Navneet Munot. The name says it all, right? Yes, he is the MD and the CEO of HDFC Mutual Fund and has been with SBI and also with Morgan Stanley. One of the most prolific speakers and a true wonderful gentleman. With us in the studios, Mr. Navneet Munot. Welcome, sir. And Mr. Munot, how has been the day so far?
Good, doing this podcast.
Absolutely. So you had a fascinating journey, right? From Aditya Birla Group way back in 1994 to, being the ED and CIO of SBI Mutual Funds. And now with HDFC AMC, which is one of India's largest AMCs. So looking back, what shaped your worldview on leadership and maybe even the risk-taking the most?
Thank you so much for having me. It's often said that success in life comes from luck, and luck is being at the right time, at the right place. And I think all of us in financial services have been very lucky that over the last couple of decades, we are in the right time, at the right place. India is at the right place, and this is the right time for us. Over the next several years, we'll continue to create an economic miracle that I keep talking about. And we are not only being a spectator, but an active participant in that. So it's a great opportunity for all of us, and our deep faith in India's opportunity and in the role that our industry is going to play. On the leadership, I would say that I'm deeply inspired by Gandhi, and who says that the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. And I think if you have a deep sense of purpose, then one can move mountains. Also like Nelson Mandela, who says that people often says lead from the front, but he said the lead from the back and make other people feel that they are leading from the front. And leadership is not about what cabin you have or what designation you write on your visiting card or things like that, but it's about innate honesty, it's about a sense of purpose, it's about truthfulness, it's about an innate desire to help others, to solve problems, to take responsibility. I think all of those qualities. And again, going back to Gandhi, think about it. He didn't join an organization as like an assistant manager and then became manager and then zonal manager. And
the hierarchy was never there.
Head. Throughout his life, he didn't have a designation, right? True. I mean, he was a volunteer, thinking about the country, thinking about the society, thinking about people, and the last person in the society, and where he reached. And you look at like outstanding leaders that we all revere, may or may not have been in the position of power, but it's about
Yeah.
the purpose that
Making that
they
difference.
have, making that difference. Yeah, that life is about creating that impact, making that change.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. In fact, in case of Mahatma Gandhi and other leaders of that genre, they didn't even have social media. So you can imagine how difficult it must have been, but still
Absolutely.
creating that name
Yeah.
for themselves.
Now, I always think like if you look at like let's say the Shraman Parampara, the Jain monks or the Buddhist monks and all the other in the Sanatan Parampara, forget the social media. I mean, they didn't have anything.
Correct.
Right? They were
Absolutely.
not going with a lot of apparatus. But after thousands of years, you are reading those books, right?
Yeah.
You are reading those
Yeah.
scriptures and you get inspired by that and the way humanity has got shaped by them. So
Yeah.
if you have a good idea with a deep sense of purpose, this will survive. And I don't think that you need to spend a lot of time on social media or something to make it lasting.
True.
Who said that? I think it was Nassim Taleb that the bestseller of last year may or may not be around after a few years. That idea nobody would like to read. But the books that have been written hundreds of years back, they will survive for several centuries.
Yeah, true, absolutely. So, Mr. Munot, was there a turning point in that term or a mentor, right, in your career who changed the way you looked at maybe money, markets, or simply purpose?
At every point in time, I've been extraordinarily lucky to get outstanding mentors, outstanding people with whom I had an opportunity to work with, to learn from, and they were just too kind to me. Right from my childhood, I come from a small town, Byawar in Rajasthan, so I think I was like a favorite student of my teachers in school, in college, and they took like extraordinary effort to mentor me. In the Birla Group, maybe as a young chartered accountant in his early 20s, I got an opportunity to sit in the group treasury committee or group forex committee, and I was seeing people in their 50s with 30, 40 years of worldview, and you get an opportunity to kind of watch them, to even speak in front of them. I used to write regularly on various things, and they are reading and we are discussing, so it was like a lot of luck. The group had like a lot of focus on the MIS, and that's how they call it, like Padta. So the whole innate, I would say, discipline of like looking at numbers constantly at granular level, at micro level, I think that came. And in every organization, Morgan Stanley, though I was a little over a year, but I think I was surrounded by extraordinary people and learned a lot from them. SBI Mutual Fund, my colleagues were just outstanding. I look up to them. And of course here, SDFC, the 4 words are synonymous with trust and confidence. The chairman of our board is legendary, Deepak Parekh. And when I sit in our boardroom, I see the picture of Mr. S.T. Parekh, who started the group with such a mission that every middle class family in India can aspire for a house during their working life. So I got very inspired by all of these people. I can take many names, but
Sure. So when you entered the financial markets or the financial world, I would say, did you ever imagine India's capital markets would actually look the way we see it today? You know, what surprised you most about this evolution that you see today in India's financial world?
I think off late the whole SIP culture has been very, very inspiring. Our industry has been trying for a very, very long time, but how this will really become pervasive and more people will be able to relate to it, that disciplined investing over a long period can lead to wealth creation, can lead to you meeting your life goals, is something like very, very fascinating and very, I would say, encouraging for all of us. But over the years, I've seen like in 90s and 2000s, credit to our policymakers, credit to our regulators, credit to our market participants. We've always been an experimental, I would say, ecosystem and environment. I've seen the whole journey from an open outcry to online trading. I've seen from physical certificates to dematerialization, from Vyaj Badla to F&O, and many things that we have seen. Like I was a fund manager on the fixed income side, and it was like all telephone market. The 3 telephones I'm like juggling with, to like now you have the NDS, the negotiated dealing system, and also we have seen a big journey. credit to, let's say, again, policymakers and I would say in a way to all the industry participants that we have always focused on leveraging technology. We have always focused on that transparency and trust are very important, and that has kept India in good stead. Actually, you asked the point on the risk management in the first part. I think credit to India relative to most of the other emerging markets, why we have been able to withstand many of the crises is simply that I think there is a lot of prudence inbuilt into us. At times people say we are just way too conservative, not taking enough risk, but in a way it has kept us in good stead through many ups and downs in the
learnings
world. Look
have
at like
been
many of the
phenomenal.
other emerging markets, the crisis they have gone through. But say I think India has relatively handled
I think the
better.
resilience is there.
The resilience is the
different
society
level.
for thousands of years.
For someone who has seen every shade of market sentiment, right? Be it greed, be it fear, or even exuberance, right? What still excites you, about showing up for work daily?
I love that work, showing up. A lot of people ask me like where you would be in few years' time. Like in the entire career, you meet someone, okay, where do you see yourself in 5 10 years? I have no idea. I'm in the flow. I show up every day. And I think that's like, I would say, that's the best, I would say, recipe for doing good in life. Just showing up every day. As I mentioned in the beginning, our deep faith, this country is destined to do very well, not only in my life, but for next hundreds of generations. There is something in the society, the resilience that we built in. The only thing lacking was that we were not as determined. I see that this generation is very determined to do well. And we have seen many crises in last 10 years globally. But the way we are building resilience and maybe another concept which is very my favorite one is anti-fragile. I think we are building that anti-fragility, that how every crisis makes us better, and that just kind of like showing up. So, and again, I just add one point. I said that in the beginning, if you have a deep sense of purpose, then all problems look very small. And at our end is like being well creative for every Indian.
So is it the political leadership that we have in India today, right? And the demographic dividend and the youth, right? I mean, it's a fantastic combination, which probably propels the Indian.
Of course, You know? So the leadership, when the Prime Minister says, "Yahi samay hai, sahi samay hai," I mean, that inspire people that, it's our time and we cannot let go of this opportunity. Or the another thing I quote several times that, sabka saath, sabka vikas, sabka vishwas, and sabka prayas. That it requires the effort of all 1.4 billion people. And if we work together, I mean, there is no mountain that we cannot move.
Absolutely. What is that one personal philosophy or a quote maybe that you find yourself coming back to, especially during uncertain times?
I mean, first of all, we've been in a world where there has been so much of uncertainty. There's a book, Siddhartha, by Herman Hesse. It's a very beautiful book on philosophy. And there's a very inspiring quote, which is, I can think, full stop. I can wait, full stop. I can fast. And it's very profound, actually, if you think about it. I can think, I can wait, I can fast. And if you have that ability, you can handle anything. You can live a good life.
So with India actually set to become a $7 to $10 trillion economy, where do you see the most transformative impact? Is it going to be in manufacturing, services, or the knowledge-driven industries, or everything?
All of the above.
All of the above.
India is a very unique model. If you go back last, let's say, 200-300 years, right, since the Industrial Revolution, the journey of many of the economies that have done well, and many of the economies that haven't really done well, which were very promising at the end of 19th century, early 20th century, but they didn't do well for a variety of reasons. India actually is a very unique model. Some of the countries, they were not the democracy. India is like a democracy and a federal structure. It's like 28 states. I always say India is not a country. It's like it's a continent by itself. It's an idea, and a very unique idea, such a multicultural, multilingual, multi-ethnic, etc. So it's very, very interesting. And I think there are countries where it was like manufacturing which was driving it, where exports were driving it, where various things have worked for them. I think India is very unique, where I think it will be a multi-pronged growth strategy. So if you look at like whether it's manufacturing and services, agriculture, all of them, whether it's domestic consumption and investments and exports, both goods and services, of course. So, I mean, we will have a lot more multi-pronged than let's say a growth model, which is different. Like if I look at China, it was primarily fixed asset investment and primarily state-led.
Yeah.
In India, state is the facilitator, of course, and they play a big role in infrastructure, digital, physical, social. Yeah. But it's big role played by the entrepreneurs. Capital markets is playing a very big role. In several of the other growth models, capital markets didn't play as big a role. So India is very, very unique.
Yeah, that's interesting. So which three sectors, Mr. Munot, do you believe will drive the India's next 2 decades of growth, and where do you see that heading and why, probably?
Again, as I mentioned earlier, that because there is going to be growth across many spheres, so it won't be a manufacturing or a China plus one, and supported by policies like PLI, etc. alone. Of course, there would be many winners there, but even in the services side, I mean, you have 1.4 billion people, starting with $2,500 per capita, an aspirational population, a very young population. There would be many opportunities there. I always say that the world we are in, India has a real potential to be farm of the world, trustworthy and reliable farm of the world, factory of the world, and front office of the world.
Super.
And you can see like opportunities everywhere. Think about it, this whole digitalization in India, what it can do to scale businesses in a very short period of time. Now we are solving problems at population scale, which would have been unthinkable. For decades, we could not get telephone to everyone. And now suddenly everybody has got mobile phone. Yeah. For decades, we could not get, let's say, computers or the computing power to everyone. Now suddenly everybody's got a smartphone. Yeah. For decades, we could not get a bank branch to every place. Now everybody has bank branch in the pocket with the online banking and the UPI. So we can really leapfrog on many businesses. And I think digitalization is a very powerful force. I keep saying that in a short period of time, we have leapfrogged from the most data poor society in the world to the most data rich society in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's that one hidden sector or a theme probably that's underappreciated today, but could be an absolute breakout story probably in a decade?
I write an annual article, and it's not that every year I thought like that, but it's a coincidence that if I look back last couple of years, so last year it was about deep tech. A year before it was health tech. Yeah. A year before it was generative AI, and a year before that was space tech. And not that I thought that it has to be in this sequence or anything like that. Yeah. But it's just that it makes me believe that, and particularly post-COVID, where I used to say that when there was a lot of pessimism around, I mean, we saw the worst health crisis or pandemic in a century. It led to like lots of challenges on the economic side. We have seen so much of geopolitical crisis, social crisis globally, and climate crisis. And I thought that the best of science is in front of us. And I think India, with its talent and now a supporting environment and the frugal engineering that we have, I think there are going to be a lot of solutions. People keep asking me on the AI that India is not really investing the way some of the other companies in the world, some of the other countries in the world have been investing. But maybe we are a good adopter of technology. And there's a possibility like the way internet and data and ubiquitous, let's say, broadband and all of that provided so many opportunities to India. Maybe you put an overlay of quantum computing and AI. You don't know what kind of
fantastic
businesses and opportunities can emerge in like all spheres.
So talking about India's digital infrastructure, ONDC, UPI, or even account aggregator, it has set a global benchmark, right? What kind of lessons from this model can be applied when it comes to wealth creation or sustainability or even education?
What a wonderful question. I I think one of the most transformational moment in the history of our nation was the Jan Dhan Yojana in 2014, where we brought 1 billion people into the mainstream financial system. And it has done a lot of good to the society. When the access to credit has improved, I mean, the whole financialization is helping various spheres of the society, and particularly the people at the bottom of the pyramid suddenly are seeing an big opportunity. The next leg of Jan Dhan is what I call Jan Nivesh. We're applying the same logic that the way we have democratized finance, we can democratize investing. And thanks to the technology and the whole UPI and the India stack, it's become possible for an AMC like HDFC to offer an SIP with a minimum amount of 100 rupees per month. You can invest in our funds with 100 rupees per month. This is a true democratization of investing that we can do and mobilize like household savings and put them into the productive use of the society and of the country.
Wonderful. So, how do you see India's AMC industry, right, evolving? Will we see the global capital flowing into India-fed funds the way it's flowed into the US markets for decades? We do see that glitch for now, but for whatever, it's the Trump effect or whatever we may say so. But do you see eventually the funds coming into India?
See, we are fourth largest almost economy, fifth largest stock market in the world, capital market in the world. 18% of humanity, starting from a very low base, long way to go, a democratic, sustainable, predictable environment. Our absorption capacity we need to increase. And whenever I meet business leaders or other leaders, I tell them that the world is looking for a place where they can deploy large amount of capital. It's chasing few stocks, few sectors currently. World has a lot of investable surplus where they are looking for one place where they can deploy for a long period of time. And we need to enhance the absorption capacity. Think about it. When I go to US and I think that the asset owners here may have $50 trillion of money to deploy. If India gets 1% addition, that's $500 billion. And I'm saying $500 billion at a time when net FDI in the last couple of years have not been impressive. Why don't we have like our ambition that I want 2% of that? That's $1 trillion. It's more than what we have got so far. That's the true potential of India, and we need to have that ambition and need to create that environment where world will be happy to deploy much larger amount of money that they've ever deployed in India so far.
Absolutely. So in your view, what's that next big India movement? When would that come, and what's in your...
I think it's been happening in my entire career, 30 years. What is the next India movement? I mean, it's been happening. It's been gradual. Look at the evolution of many industries. I mean, an IT industry, which was, let's say, $1 billion in the 90s, and people thought post Y2K, what would happen? Post, let's say, the move from server to ERP, etc., what would happen? Or post cloud, what would happen? But look at it, it's like $200 billion industry. Maybe it will be in different shape. What has happened to the GCCs? Look at our own industry. I mean, our assets under management of like 75 lakh crores, $850 billion. 23 years back, I remember celebrating 1 lakh crore. So it's a 75x journey, and it feels this is just the beginning, right? So across industries, across sectors, it's been evolving, and every time it will feel like we haven't scratched the surface.
So much so, absolutely. So let's talk about financial literacy and market trends, and more importantly, financial literacy, because now we see mutual fund space where you have investors, if I say so, from literally tier 2 and tier 3 and 4 cities, right? From Mission Samruddhi to vernacular investor education. How is HDFC AMC rethinking that financial storytelling for India's next 100 million investors? It's a huge task.
I'm so happy you asked this. Our mission at HDFC AMC is to be the wealth creator for every Indian, And we are most passionate about investor education. And you talked about some of the the campaigns we have been running, some of the big projects we have been running. Mission Samriddhi is for the people who have been serving in defense services and their families, what they are doing for the country and what we can do for them to secure their financial future and their family's financial future. Similarly, we have a very interesting campaign called Barni se Aazadi, which is like Indian women have been great savers for generations. How do we make them better investors that they just put the money in the kitchen jar?
Correct.
And we kind of go and engage with them that there's a better way of investing and you can grow your money. We have an interesting campaign called Bharosa, which is for the people who are deaf and mute. And then we are training trainers who can in turn train people who cannot hear or speak. So there are like many of these. We have Mission Mars, which is for kids between 9 to 14 or 9 to 16. That how do we inculcate right saving and investing habits at the very early stage. We are like from campus to Campus Connect, which is for the college students. So there are like many to look at like every part of the society. But one common theme among all of this is one of the important, I would say, segment for us is women. Women at the center of all of this, because I think historically, as I mentioned earlier, Indian women are outstanding savers, because in India, savings is and people think about their finances in this manner: income minus savings equal to expenditure, not the other way around. Not
Correct.
The way
Savings is primary.
Western world. Saving is primary. So whether you earn 100 rupees or whether you earn 100,000 rupees or 100 million, you think about savings and then equal to expenditure. How do we make them better investor? And I keep using this phrase: this nation is transforming from a nation of savers to a nation of investors. And we want to be like, we are very fortunate that we are part of that story.
Wonderful. I love that phrase. I know you guys have termed it Barni se Aazadi, which is so inspiring, right?
So this was in the Aazadi ka Amrit Mahotsav. 3 years back, we launched it on the Independence Day. And every year we have been taking it to, we are trying
different
our best
level
to taking it to a different level. Doing like, those Natak Mandalis who are, so we are engaging
literally on the ground.
People on the ground in very interesting manner and tier 3, tier 4. A lot of people think about like, all of these things are done digitally now. But we have opened like 50 new offices in last like 2 years or so. Because I think in tier 3, tier 4 towns, in our industry parlance, we call them B30, beyond top 30 towns. There, I think there is something amazing about the personal warmth, about having people on the ground.
The digital is one leg of it, but the physical
investing
makes a
very
lot.
heavily in our digital. So 96% transactions get done digitally. Most of the things, right from the KYC to onboarding to portfolio, everything that you can do digitally. But at the same time, we think where India is currently, the importance of having that personal connect and a personal warmth also adds to
very much. Absolutely. With more first-time investors now than ever, how do you prepare them in terms of psychologically, for market corrections and long-term investing disciplines? Where I'm coming from is, the year 2020 with COVID, the investments that happened, this genre has not seen that big dip that you and me have seen. And that, again, it's one of the young generations, right? Psychologically, वो भरोसा ना जाए. How do you handle that?
बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है वो कि जो ये नए इन्वेस्टर्स आए हैं पिछले 5 साल में, particularly post COVID, and who've come digitally, who've just looked at like some of the funds and invested. Markets have been kind, markets have done well. Of course, in last 1 year, they have seen volatility. But I would put it in this manner that I think the mutual funds saw a tipping point sometime in 2016-17 with the whole campaign, mutual fund sahi hai. Along with, the confluence of other factors, which I keep saying, the long-term track record that fund houses like ours have funds running, that with a track record of 25, 30 years, the more and more transparency that we are bringing in. Technology is helping us, like our number of investors at HDFC AMC have doubled in last 2 years. That was made possible thanks to technology and the effort on the investor education, which has been helping us to gain confidence. But this is both an opportunity as well as, I would say, responsibility on our shoulder. How do we ensure that these investors stay invested for long? These investors look at their goals and remain disciplined through market cycle. There would be cycles.
Yeah.
Markets don't deliver returns in a linear fashion. All markets, for example, in last 1 or 2 years, people suddenly are seeing that, gold and silver have done so well. Why should I look at other asset classes? A few years back, it was other way around. Why should I have any money in gold and silver? But we have been saying no, in the importance of goal planning, importance of asset allocation, importance of discipline is a lot more important than trying to maximize or optimize your returns in 1 year, 2 year, or 5 year.
Yeah, absolutely. With fintechs and these kind of platforms reshaping accesses, as you mentioned, how do you see the AMC model, right, evolving with tomorrow's winners, be those who manage those funds or those who manage the investors' journeys? Because as you say, 3 and 4, tier 3 and 4 on the ground, personal connect, kind of works. But the back end, it's equally important to have a fantastic tech behind. How do you kind of transition to the tech piece?
So it's a whole ecosystem. If we have to take 55 million investors, अभी जो 5.5 करोड़ investors है, वहाँ से to go a journey to let's say 10 crore, 20 crore, 30 crore, 40 crore investors, increasing number of households. Also the people who have already invested, but are they investing right? Are they investing enough to secure their retirement? Creating awareness about all of these things will require efforts of many people.
Yeah.
It won't be just the few asset managers, right? Because you need distributors. They have a role to play. Advisors. You need all of these technology partners, the whole ecosystem supporters. You need everyone support. And of course, what you're doing currently, there is a big role of that.
To communicate and
as
connect.
Well. Absolutely. Yeah. So the whole ecosystem will have to work together.
Yeah, absolutely. So there, of course, there's this talk about passive and algorithmic investing, right? Which are kind of redefining the role of active investment managers. Sir, how must research or pricing or even for that matter engagement evolve to stay relevant? How does that work?
No, I mean research is very critical, right? Who decides the price of a stock? Who decides the price of a security? Somebody is researching, right? If everybody does a free ride that whatever is market is saying and I'll buy that, whatever is there in the index, I'll buy that. But then how the price discovery will happen, right? Somebody is researching.
Yeah.
Somebody is arriving at the right valuation, so on and so forth. And I think that role can never be neglected. And it will always remain very relevant. In fact, in times to come, my view is that with lot more noise in the market, with lot more machines dominating in the market, the role of that research will actually go up going forward. So human beings with wisdom, powered by the machines on the data and all, let's say the analytical and the computing power, will actually help shape the market, not the other way around where machines
can rule the roost. In fact, that brings into the AI piece, right? Which has kind of, now it's the buzzword, right? There's no industry which is without AI. Sometimes a lot of rhetoric it probably is, but where do you see that practical or high impact AI use cases emerging in the AMC space?
There is no sphere which will remain
untouched
by AI. And a couple of years back in one of the annual letter, I put that generative AI is my person of the year. This is one of the most transformational force humanity has seen. And this will shape many things. This is intelligence revolution. And go back and see the manufacturing revolution or the industrial revolution, how it shaped society, how it changed the way we live, the way we work, the way we think, many things. And similarly, the intelligence revolution, which is what artificial intelligence, machine learning, all of that put together is doing. So this will, the way we are working, so a lot of things, the way human brain does, the way we work, of course, it's going to change. You have so much of data at your disposal, so much of information at your disposal. You can make sense of that, both structured and the unstructured data. I mean, just get all the data, clean it, get the inferencing, and then utilization of that, whether in terms of visualization for a decision maker or for personalizing at scale for many people. There is a big role AI will play.
Absolutely. And how can traditional sectors like asset management, insurance, or even for that matter banking, like reimagine workflows using AI, agentic AI, where systems act, learn, and improve autonomously.
Of course. So that's the best part, that it's constantly learning. The system itself is learning
Yeah, to improve.
every nanosecond.
Yeah.
And dealing with, as I said, the large amount of data and the computing power that
Yeah.
we are putting it. And then the system has a self-learning. And the results are like non-linear. It's exponential. And
Yeah.
human brain thinks in a linear fashion. This is an exponential force. So right from the investment management, dealing with, again, structured and unstructured data of, let's say, what your analysts have done, what the companies have spoken over decades, all the data that you put in a place, and what you can, with the agentic AI, or even otherwise, the way you can use that for a lot of your analytical, to build your analytical edge, build your behavioral edge, knowing your own, let's say, transactions or investments over a long period of time, and knowing yourself better. It also, people talk about the information edge and the analytical edge you build with this. But I say even a behavioral edge can be built through it by
Mm.
knowing yourself better, or by knowing your team better. We have like 14 million investors. Yeah. Today when we send an email, today when we communicate, I think it's more or less similar to everyone, right? Yeah. But understanding each and every client of yours, understanding each and every partner of yours, and then you communicate and put your content in the most contextual, most consumable manner.
Yeah.
That I think AI can help. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about investment philosophy. I'm sure it's a subject very close to your heart. When evaluating these companies, right, for your portfolio or beyond financial metrics, what intangibles do you look for, such as leadership quality, in terms of governance, or even adaptability to technology?
No, absolutely. All of these are very important. I think it's the vision of the leadership and the way they execute. Both are very important. Leaders need to have a microscope of being on the ground and seeing every day, but at the same time a telescope to see the change that's coming, and you cannot ignore that. And the history is replete with like lots of examples where leaders missed a very large trend which could impact their industry in a profound manner. And I don't have to take the names in India as well as globally. So it's very, very important. I think a stakeholder capitalism is the word I use, that looking at all the stakeholders and thinking long term is very critical to build business, and thinking beyond, as we say, quarter tak, but thinking of building business which is very sustainable and durable.
Yeah. So do you believe that human capital quality, like culture probably, or skilling, leadership pipelines, they deserve greater visibility in terms of how these companies are valued?
Of course. So it might sound cliched, like what is a good company to buy, like to have good business, good management, right valuation. And within that, good management plays a very, very big role. And that's where the role of, let's say, a culture. It's a cliched sentence to say that culture eats strategy for lunch, but it is true. Yeah. It is true that the culture that you build in the organization, and some of the things that I talked about earlier, a long-term orientation, a sustainability, a durability of your growth, having that growth mindset, having a mindset of taking care of all your stakeholders. I think that's how you build a culture. You drill down a sense of purpose, you drill down a company's vision and a long-term orientation.
Yeah. So how do you see traditional businesses, for that matter, reinventing themselves, right, without losing their legacy business, or especially the balancing that stability, right, which is very important, along with speed? How do you see that?
So I always say this, that it is not the size and stability that will decide your fate, but it is the nimbleness and agility. Size and stability gives you an advantage, but more important is nimbleness and agility to ensure that you remain relevant. The environment is changing so much, and the change is very rapid, and it's very important that companies retain that nimbleness and that agility to adapt to an evolving environment.
Sure. And as you mentioned about the environment, where consumer expectations, right, they evolve like kind of literally monthly, right? How can companies actually institutionalize continuous innovation, may not be as a project, but as a habit? Because mutual fund investments, sometimes, if they're not giving returns, people just think about, okay, और किसी में invest कर सकते हैं types.
No, it is not only about the mutual fund. Any business you are running, I think the most important thing is staying grounded, staying connected to your end consumer. And of course, if it is through your partners and distributors, staying connected deeply with them, and through their lens, you're constantly seeing the consumer. But even without that lens, you are constantly keeping an eye on what consumers are thinking. And if you are not as grounded, if you are not really meeting them and seeing them and observing them and constantly having that feedback from them, and a constructive and a critical feedback from them, you won't be able to evolve. It's very important. I always say that all of us have to be constantly seeing what are customers thinking, what are customers saying. I think having that ear to the ground is so critical for every management, every leadership.
So let's talk about sustainability and responsible investing. So where ESG narratives are evolving, but how can India, on its own sustainability lens, right, balance that growth with sustainability?
I mean, we are a listed company, and our ESG philosophy is people, planet, and prosperity. And I always say this, that any business, if it is not good for the planet in the long run, if it is not good for the people and society in the long run, won't have the license to make profits and create prosperity for long. It can only create prosperity if it is thinking of planet as well as people, and it's very important. But it's a highly nuanced subject, and we shouldn't blindly follow what has been told to us by the West and the people over the last 200 years who destroyed the planet, who did all kinds of people practices. I think we have a better right to kind of guide the world on what true ESG is, because this is part of our civilizational heritage. This is the ancient wisdom India can offer to the world, what Bahujan Hitay, Bahujan Sukhay is, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina. It is so innate to us as a culture and civilization that I think the business community in India, the entrepreneurs in India can showcase to the world what Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam really means, and you can create prosperity for all without compromising on core values, without compromising on the future of people and planet.
Absolutely. So let's talk about human touch and personal insights, right? So what kind of quality leaders need to give, through basically an uncertain environment that we have, and also change happening at such rapid pace? How does one really, reconcile that?
You're so right. It is not only the change, but the velocity of the change
also matters.
It's so rapid.
Correct.
Whether it's global geopolitics, whether the changes in the technology, in consumer behavior, in policy, everywhere. It's been it's an environment of very rapid change. So, how do I put it? And leaders need IQ and EQ, which of course get discussed often, intelligence quotient and emotional quotient. But equally important are AQ and SQ. AQ is the adaptability quotient. As Darwin said, it is not the strongest or the biggest of the species, but it is the most adaptable to change who survives. I think adaptability quotient is very important because the world is changing so fast. You talked about the consumer behavior. If you lose sight of what your customers are expecting, you'll be out of business. So adaptability is very important. When there is so much of change and there is so much of noise, I think the last one is SQ. So IQ, EQ, AQ, and SQ. SQ is a spirituality quotient. I think remaining calm under stress, having a clarity of thought, clarity of vision, balancing humility with ambition, all of that comes from if you have a spirituality quotient innate in you. And I think that's where you'll be able to navigate the challenges that come your way or navigate the changes that come your way better.
Mr. Munot, let's look at world from a future outlook and probably the reflection. How do you see your own role actually evolving from managing assets to shaping how India saves, how it invests, builds trust in the capital markets. How do you kind of, as you say, adapt to it, and how have you evolved over your own role?
I think all of us are part of a very lucky generation, as someone said that we didn't have the opportunity to die for the country, but we can live for the country, and we can live for the future of humanity, because 18% of humanity lives here. We will determine the future of humanity, and I think we can navigate in the right direction of thinking for the planet and for the entire humanity, given the polarized global environment. And I think particularly in our industry, we have a very, very big opportunity that as this economy goes from $4 trillion to much larger size, from an emerging economy to a developed country, I think we can ensure that on one side we are not only supporting that growth momentum, we are not only catalyzing that the household savings into the productive assets, but at the same time make that growth very inclusive by spreading the fruit of the growth to as many households as possible, and making that a virtuous cycle, and making the growth more equitable, more inclusive, more sustainable. I think our industry has a big opportunity. So all of us, not only me, but all of us are very lucky that we have this opportunity and responsibility that we can
really make
over
that
the next
huge
year
difference.
we can
Absolutely.
make the best of.
And if you had if you had to describe the India investment story in just one line for 2040, what would it be?
So I won't say higher AUM, but I would say wider impact. I think we can create a wider impact by constructive engagement with the investee companies, that how they do good to the country, they do good to all stakeholders, which include their shareholders who provide capital. And I think we can have a much wider impact on the overall society.
Wonderful. And what advice would you give to entrepreneurs, and even business leaders, right, who want to build companies that earn a place in your portfolio? Very tricky question, but an interesting
No, not
one.
tricky, honestly. So, of course, I mean, we are a steward of our unit holders. We are a trustee of our investors. And what we are trying to do is optimize their returns over a long period of time, and not maximize the return in the short run. We are here to optimize returns in the long run. Always say this, that our assets will keep growing thanks to the place where we have in the country's growth trajectory, and we would actually potentially be a perpetual investor in businesses. We will have a larger and larger stake in corporate India, in the business society, and there the businesses who also think long term, who also think of creating value and growth for good, larger good over a period of time. And I'm sure they will keep creating value, and we would be a very happy, I would say, owner of those businesses.
Wonderful. And finally, what keeps you optimistic about India, even in uncertain global times?
For 1,000 years, we got attacked by everybody in the world. They were like conquerors, and there were people who came from different parts of the world. But there is a certain core of our society. There is an ethos of our society, the value system of our society that we have been able to keep intact. And this is the mother of civilization. And we have been able to retain that for such a long period, despite getting attacked by so many other people who came from different parts of the world. There is an inherent resilience in us, which keeps me optimistic. Now, with this resilience, what the new force that we are seeing now is the determination. Somewhere in last couple of centuries, we lost that faith in ourselves. Maybe we lost that confidence in ourselves at different points in time. A Raja Mohan Rai or a Gandhi or a Vivekanand, and so many of them were always there to remind us from all the great leaders over the decades and centuries. But at the same time, somewhere the larger, I would say, public imagination kind of didn't feel as determined. I'm seeing that signs that people are also having that determination that yes, we can regain
that can-do attitude is coming.
We can regain that, the most prosperous society, the most the revered society in the world again.
True. Let's have a very quick rapid fire, with you. A core value you won't ever compromise on.
Ethics, integrity.
One book that changed you, how you think.
I think, as I said in my second standard, I gave a speech on Gandhi. I think that had a very deep impact on me.
Okay. A daily habit you swear by.
Meditation.
Okay. Any hobby or a sport probably that makes you a better professional.
I'm not a good singer, but I try my best.
Cool. Okay. One prediction, sir, for your industry in maybe 2020, 30.
As I said, wider impact.
Great. What's on your stop doing list in this quarter?
Should use less phone.
Okay. One word your team would use to describe you.
Love.
Okay. One skill leaders will need most over the next decade.
Spirituality quotient.
Okay, that's SQ. And the last question in this round, your personal North Star metric.
Well creator for every Indian.
Fantastic. And before I let you go, one question. You mentioned in the beginning of this interview on the podcast that you're a true Gandhian in that sense. You live by that. And you saw the charkha behind where I'm sitting and it reminded you of those values. Yeah. Can you tell us a little more about it? How have you been, staying to that true spirit?
I think that truthfulness and a lot of times people say leaders need to practice what they preach, but using one's body and soul as a laboratory to constantly experiment with the truthfulness and being so open and transparent about your life is something absolutely exceptional. Always thinking about others and not about thinking yourself is something very, very inspiring in the man. Yeah.
And do you visit Mani Bhavan on every 2nd
I've
October?
been to Mani Bhavan, to Dandi Ashram,
Wow.
and any of those places are like real pilgrimage. Yeah, but this, this country over thousands of years have produced outstanding sages and saints and the sage Shrestha. I mean, it's very interesting. This country has always revered people who have been well-creator. The sage word comes from Shrestha, which is like somebody who's Shrestha, who's good, has been revered simply because they create jobs, they create economic activity, they create resources for the state to provide safety, security, the whole infrastructure for everyone. And this country has been blessed with outstanding leaders, and our generation has an opportunity to go around the world again and talk about it.
Absolutely. So very much optimistic, so positive, and on to end this podcast on. Mr. Navneet Munot, thank you so much for being on this podcast.
Thank you so much. Keep serving.
Yeah. And well, with that, we come to the end of this episode of the Karmine Kompass podcast, a very, very special episode for us with Mr. Navneet Munot, and especially on the fact that we are on our anniversary, of Karmine Consulting. On that very positive note, thank you so much for being with us on the Karmine Kompass. Pivotal Conversations. Thank you.